This is an engineering class taught by Mark Rober. In today's video, we're going to be using Mark Rober's engineering process to will something into existence. Check it out. So to understand why I chose the build I chose and where I am in the process, we have to go back to Monday when Mark challenged us to solve a food-related problem using mechanical engineering. Step 1 of Mark's process was to brainstorm any scenarios involving food, then write down any problems in those scenarios. So we did that. And I found that the biggest pain point for me was the time it takes to clean up the awkward dishes involved in making the food. A dishwasher does a great job at sanitizing and drying the dishes, so the best way for me to save time is in the pre-wash phase, when the dishes have the most stuck on food grime. Alright, so thanks to Mark's process, we're able to narrow down a good problem that's worth solving. This is the Super Soaker Scrubber prototype. Okay, so now that you know what I chose to build and why I chose to build it, we can work on the next step of Mark's process, which is the research, experimentation, and design. In order to know what we had to research, Master Rober had us lay out all the build requirements and all the ways we can complete the build, no matter how crazy it sounded. Any idea you had worked. So I labeled the requirements for the build in purple and ways to pull off that requirement in yellow. Now that I have a better general idea of how to pull off the build, we need to start brainstorming the more practical ways to pull off each requirement. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm ready to start narrowing down the most practical ways to complete the build. But in order to know what is the most practical way to complete the build, I have to go to the store, see what I have available to me. So I took a trip to Home Depot, walked around the store for a bit, looked at all the different options, and I found I had a big problem with my original prototype. So in the store, while I was looking at all the materials there, I was able to visualize my new design, and I grabbed a couple things to experiment. So I only needed to experiment with a few items. I got the magnet scrubber to experiment ways to flow water through them. And I got the hose nozzle just to see how it works. I've never seen the inside, so I wanted to see how this would flow water. The experiment turned out to be pretty quick and easy. I found that on the inside, it's just a solid hose line with a pin that activates the flow of water when you squeeze the trigger. Okay, to see how I was going to flow water through the scrubber, I had to break it open and see what's inside. Okay, so I broke into the scrubber, and I found that if I'm going to flow water through the scrubber, I have to drill a hole through the middle of this magnet in the other two pieces. So I got out the heavy-duty drill bit, and after about 5 minutes of drilling, I split the magnet and broke it in half. So this turned out to be a pretty good experiment because I found a problem leading into the final design. So I went on Google and I found that they do already have magnets with holes in them so that you can screw them together and secure them. But I'm just going to replace the magnets inside the scrubber with a magnet with a hole already in it. Okay, so now that we've taken the time to brainstorm, research, and experiment, that leads us into the design. This is the Super Scrubber 1.0. I called this design the 1.0 because it should function and meet the important requirements for the build, but the tap used to split the water will need to be hidden below the sink, and the hose line running to the scrubber will need to be retractable. Alright, so that's the design I have at this point in the class. If anyone has a better idea on how to hide the valve and water line, please leave a comment down below. It'd be a huge help. If you'd like to support the channel, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and we'll catch you next time.